The shaman found this tradition of eating the mushroom to be so important that they kept this tradition for thousands of years until one day this pattern was broken. And today, I believe that we are asleep at the wheel. The traditional use of these mushrooms was hijacked by men attempting to control the world via religion and faith instead of experience. As Albert Pike said, this truth is not for those who are not worthy or unable to receive it or would pervert it. And perhaps that's why there are methods like this in place, where the fruit has become forbidden. And according to the gods in Genesis, we're not to know the difference between right and wrong. We're to be told what the differences are between right and wrong. But that plan, according to the story, was spoiled when someone ate something that opened their eyes. Now, was it really an apple? We know that the apple is symbolic of something. We encourage children to eat apples. Perhaps the apple is a symbol for the actual forbidden fruit. On the left is an apple, and on the right is the Amanita muscaria mushroom, here with a bite taken out of each. It's a perfect symbol. In the Song of Solomon, Solomon's lover describes him as an apple tree among the trees of the forest. In my book, I show the connections between the Amanita muscaria mushroom, Attis, Adamas, Tammuz, and the rest. When you read that chapter, you'll better understand this connection. The Song of Solomon is said to be the sacred marriage liturgy from a Mesopotamian ritual of marriage between two gods, Tammuz and Astarte. So, in this interpretation of the legend, Astarte describes her lover, Solomon, Tammuz, Attis, as its true character, the mushroom, the sacred flesh of the pine tree god, the Amanita muscaria, an apple tree among the trees of the forest. If you were going into the forest looking for the Amanita muscaria, but that's not what you were told you were looking for because, it hasn't been given that name yet, you might be told to go into the forest and look for apples, to find the apple tree. The result would be the same. You would find what you were looking for, an apple among the trees of the forest. The ancient Greeks and the early pagans used sacred plants as a way to communicate with the gods. In fact, this is very well established. So what happened with Christianity? This is St. Michael's Church in Hildesheim, Germany. Notice the ceiling. The word church comes from the name of the goddess Circe, the patroness of divine inebriation. In theory, we're led to understand that the scriptures lead the adherents back to the garden and the tree of life, and into the presence of the divine. In reality, only the correct interpretation of the scriptures will lead one back to the real tree of life and its fruit. And now we're on a literal treasure hunt. This ceiling, where these two are eating the Amanita muscaria mushroom, is not flat. These orbs that they're eating are actually raised bumps in the ceiling. Images of Jesus with mushrooms and images of Adam and Eve with mushrooms are quite common if you look for these things. And here it's pretty difficult to see on the left, but if you just let your eyes adjust for a second, you'll see the distinct shape of the Liberty Cap mushroom. The vertical striations, the little ring at the top. So I'd like to change gears here for just a second and finish up the astrotheology portion of this talk on the origin of the world. It's better to know the difference between good and evil when you see it than to be told which is which and then trust that you aren't being manipulated. The gods of Genesis wanted to control the sacred plants in the garden, while this Lucifer character, whoever he was saying, "Take and eat." Now notice in this picture, it is a serpent that is giving Eve the forbidden fruit. But according to the story, it wasn't a serpent that tempted Eve with the apple. Crawling on his belly was punishment for telling man to take and eat. So if it wasn't a serpent that tempted Eve with the forbidden fruit, who was it? And the Lord said, "Behold, the man has become as one of us, to know good and evil." And the gods were worried that man was going to eat from the tree of life and live forever. And for that, they were banished from the garden. From a perspective of creation, why would you make a food that would give humans the knowledge of good and evil and then make it forbidden? Is that what Jesus would do? "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he will live forever." It doesn't seem like the gods in the book of Genesis and Jesus were on the same page. We're told to believe that Jesus died on a cross so that everyone in the world could have access to the very thing that the Lord God in the book of Genesis had made forbidden. So who were these gods? This Lord and Jesus obviously both have opposite agendas. Given what we know about this forbidden fruit, if Jesus had walked into the Garden of Eden, he would have also told Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Perhaps it was Jesus in the Garden of Eden, opening the eyes of Adam and Eve. This is the Gnostic belief. This is a Gnostic coin, a 16th century coin with a crucified Jesus on one side and a crucified Lucifer on the other. Moses, Lucifer, Jesus, all three had the same message: take and eat. Whether it was manna, the forbidden fruit, or the bread of life, the message was the same. And I'm very specific to use the word Lucifer instead of Satan or the devil, because I will say that Jesus and Lucifer are one and the same character, but I'm not suggesting that Jesus is Satan, and I'm not saying that the devil is the Son of God.